Well, that sucked. I have this holder on my phone for my car, and when it came out, it was supposed to be the number one leading. It's crap. It's okay, but it's crap. Anyway, so where I left off, let's see. By my junior year, I was starting to level out in my weight. I was starting to gain a lot of confidence. I was pretty happy. Granted, about my freshman, sophomore year, I did start to have depression. And I'll be honest, in middle school, I had really bad body dysmorphia, and I got that from my mom. My mom was constantly talking about how she needed to lose weight, she needed to lose weight, she needed to look a certain way. And so then in 5th grade is when I started to gain weight, as a lot of kids do when they start going through puberty. And that was all I could focus on, really. I mean, by 8th grade, I was teetering on anorexia. And to be perfectly honest, my mom, she just kind of saw it as, well, that's good, or, I mean, she didn't know, but she knew. She kind of saw it as, well, if you're losing weight and that's what you want, that's all that matters. My dad, he made fun of me once. He said, you seem to think that you've got this all figured out. You think that, oh, I'm not hungry, lose a pound. Oh, I'm not hungry, lose a pound. And then that was the whole conversation. It took about a month for me to get back into eating normally. But I just remember walking home one day and thinking to myself, this is not normal. I need to do something. And I had a good friend who was very similar to me in a lot of her mental problems. And so we kind of leaned on each other. And it was in middle school when I started self-harm. And that was also something that she did. And so it was kind of hard to feel like anybody else could understand but her. And I think she felt the same way with me. So high school, everything was going good until my senior year. My senior year, but right before my senior year, I found out that my boyfriend of a year and a half at that point had cheated on me with one of his gal friends. And so then, after trying to be okay with it, I ended up breaking up with him. And then I think it was like a couple weeks later, I was just, that's your very first hurt. So I was just kind of like, let's take it back, I want it back. And so that's what I did, was I told him I wanted him back. And so we got back together. And just a couple months later, I started hearing about him messing around again on me. I ended up finding out later that he was messing around with one of my good friends, on top of whoever else he was messing around with. And it's one of those where you just know. And so he wasn't a very good boyfriend. And then I had a guy friend who really wanted to date me. And so the boyfriend at the time was just like, yeah, go do that. And then he'd turn around and say, oh, boo-hoo me. Anyway, so my senior year, my depression got really bad. I mean, I was constantly thinking about crashing my car or taking 100 pills and just not waking up. I would fantasize about people coming in my room and just looking over all my stuff and deciding what they want to take. And then I was doing self-harm. My mom had broken up with her at the time husband and left me and him pretty much to fend for ourselves, which I was a senior in high school and he was unemployed due to back issues, I do believe. And so him and I just kind of had to scramble for something to do. And so I moved in with a friend, he moved in with a friend, and when I moved in with her, I mean, my depression was already pretty bad, and she was not a very good friend, and I'm not gonna lie, because I felt that she was okay with treating me like crap. I was like, well, I guess, if that's the friendship that she wants to have, then I guess that's the friendship we'll have. And even though I thought it was okay because I asked her permission first, after her and this guy had broken up, him and I started dating. And I did ask her permission first. I said, I'm not going to give up our friendship over this, but I've liked him since the first moment I looked at him, and same on with him. And she was just like, yeah, it's fine. We only dated a month. Well, apparently it was not fine. Because she really hated me after that. And so then after some time, my dad had ended up in jail for a little bit, and so me and the boyfriend went over to go take care of my brother, and during that time we got pregnant. I was in school. This is after graduation. And let's see. I was in school. I was going to school to be an esthetician, and because we were pregnant, we figured we should move in together. His parents said that we weren't married, so we couldn't move in together. So we rushed into a marriage. And it was a very toxic relationship. He's a narcissist, and we were both still children. We were both 18, fresh out of high school. Young and dumb. And so we only lasted about a year, and then he had this idea that he was going to kick me out, and he wanted to try dating somebody he worked with. And to be perfectly honest, I wanted to try dating somebody that I used to go to school with. And so he had this idea that if he kicked me out, he would do his thing with this girl, and then he would be like, okay, come back, and I would come back. But that was not the case, because I moved in with my best friend, who was my rock, and she was the one that kept telling me, no, don't do it, no, don't do it. And so from there, I ended up getting an apartment on my own. It was low income. And I did good. Granted, at some point, I decided that I wasn't going to just settle anymore, and I wanted to go back to school. So I started going back to school for cosmetology. And the first month I was there, I found out I was pregnant. It was with a guy that I wanted to date, but he just wanted to mess around. And so when he found out I was pregnant, he pretty much told me, I'd rather you not. And so at first, I really thought about giving her up for adoption. And it was because, I was a single mom with a 3-year-old. Well, at the time, 2-year-old. And I had a lot of people who told me to put Lily up for adoption. And that wasn't going to happen. Because I wasn't going to give up my little family. But this one, I really felt like I was in a corner. And luckily, I had a few ladies that just kept telling me, if I could do it, you can do it. And so I ended up deciding to keep her. And she is my ham. Me and her are very, very similar. She's 12 now. So let's see. So I gave birth to her. And then about 6 months down the road, I heard from his family, his sister, and she says, I want to meet my niece. Well, I didn't even know he had a sister. I thought that his whole family told him that they wanted me to do the, just get rid of it. And so that was my mentality. And so turns out they didn't even know about her until the paperwork showed up at the door. And so, they absolutely love her. They think she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they have been so good to me and my little family. We've gone on trips together, to Disney, and, they've taken us out to dinner lots of times, and they've taken care of us. Even though their son is not really in the picture. They've stepped up a ton, and I am extremely blessed. So when she was about 4, I ran into a guy that I went to high school with and was just madly in love with at one point. And him and I started talking, and it was one of those where as soon as you start talking, you're talking 24 hours. And that was us. He ended up moving in way too soon. But it was because his roommate pretty much said, you have a girlfriend now get out. And so he moved in with me. And, I was pretty established where I was at. And so I was good. And, him moving in, it was nice. But the thing is that we didn't know each other on that level yet. And so we had a lot of fights, a lot of kickback. Then we ended up deciding to get married. We got married in 2019. And it was a lot of learning on the go, because this poor guy, he hadn't been in a relationship for 7 years before me. He didn't have kids. He had no idea what this life had entailed. And so that was hard for him to adjust when he was only taking care of himself his whole life and a dog. Sharing a life was new for him. And so after about 5 years, he decided that he needed to go work on him. And so he ended up leaving. Me and my girls, we ended up having to find an apartment. And after about a year, he decided that he wanted to try again. And he has proven to me that if you want to change, you can. You just have to want to, and you have to do it. And so me and him have been seeing each other for a while, growing in that direction. Now, I've missed out on lots of details, but I also didn't want to sit here and just bore you guys for hours on end. But I would like to hear, what do we have in common? What do you, how did you deal with your situations? I guess, what do you think about my lifestyle? It is what it is. Did you make a connection? Did you find something relatable? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video, and you have a great one.